You've heard a lot about getting young people to the polls this election season, but what about keeping them at the polls, as in poll workers? It's too early to know how many millennials and Gen Zers will ultimately vote, but we do know that more of them are working the election than ever before.
So is this your first time working as a poll worker?
Yeah, this is my first time working as a poll worker.
So this is my first time poll working.
This is my first time.
Usually, it's our grandparents working election sites. In 2018, the majority of poll workers were over the age of 60. Makes sense, because many of them are retired and have time during the day. But this year, COVID makes it a more dangerous job for them, as that age group is the most likely to get seriously ill or die from the illness.
In the early days of the pandemic, we saw a lot of people drop out, and we heard from election officials all over the country their concern about a shortage of poll workers.
America is facing a nationwide poll worker shortage.
You saw people like Trevor Noah on Comedy Central power the polls.
We are facing a nationwide poll worker shortage.
The Poll Hero project that focuses on high school and college students has done a great job. I'd hate to not mention Noah Pransky and Tony Little's infomercial-inspired PSA.
You want to help America exercise its right to vote? Stick to a steady diet of democracy?
And you just really saw this outpouring of people signing up in a way that has really helped. But we're in such a better place than we are. And in particular, I'm excited about this new generation that has stepped up to be poll workers.
I talked to boards of elections across the country, and the story was the same. They said they're overwhelmed with applications from young people answering the call to staff the polls this year.
I signed up because my best friend told me there was an announcement that there's a shortage of poll workers. And we're like, oh, let's sign up.
The reason that I decided to be a poll worker is because I know that the times that I voted in person, every single person I work with is probably above the age of 60, old retired folks from my community. And while I love seeing those people, I also know that COVID is a huge risk for their health.
This is my first presidential election, which I will be eligible to vote in. But this is also the first where the Hispanic community makes up the biggest percentage in minority votes. I feel an obligation to be here working the polls while also recruiting young people to make sure that specifically my community's voice is heard.
Can you guys hear me?
Initiatives like the Poll Hero project, run by college students and fueled by social media apps like TikTok, encouraged tens of thousands of young folks to get involved.
On average, we'll get a few thousand views. We just passed 35,000 signups. We want to have a voice. We want to get involved. And so I think initiatives like this are so successful because young people of the last 4 years have just seen, the path of the country, and they're like, I want to influence it in some way, shape, or form.
The Election Assistance Commission is hoping that these first-timers become lifelong poll workers to ensure that staffing polling places is never a concern again.
I hope that they keep volunteering in 2022 and 2024. That may help election officials for years to come.
Worked the polls this afternoon. Saw a pretty good influx of people. Seeing people come in and just so excited to vote. And like having the opportunity to walk them through it, make sure they understand it, and then kind of get to a point where they actually vote, like just their eyes like light up, and it's actually been really rewarding.
To me, like going to poll worker training and reading about this, like there are people who are so committed to making this happen and to making it happen like year after year, even when it's not a big election. And I just find that like really inspiring.
Poll workers are the lifeblood of our democracy. When you see the long lines, when you see the lack of precincts, especially in communities like Black communities and community of color, it's because we don't have enough resources in those communities to ensure a free and fair democracy. And part of a free and fair democracy is a democracy that's well staffed. So that's where we come in.
It's going to be in history books, I think, this election. And I felt like I want to be a part of this. I want to be able to say, oh, I worked in the elections back in 2020. And I think now and in future ones, I think I will be calling and interviewing to be a poll worker again.